the record, we were not talking about her.
And I was just taking the opportunity to smack me.
I didn't do that either. I wish that I had a more profound reason for writing about mermaids, but the truth of the matter is, I didn't think the market was ready for a YA Sasquatch romance. So I had to pick a different creature that was less hairy and smelly. So one day, because I'm a fantastic nerd, I was watching an oceanography documentary on how they had discovered the giant squid. And I'm talking the giant squid that you see in the old pictures where they're attacking the old merchant ships, and you know there's all these tentacles, probably more tentacles than they should have had in the picture. So one washed up on shore in 2005, and the scientists had to say, "Oops, just joking. Those are really real. Then they're not fishermen lore. Those exist. Just kidding." And so I was wondering, you know, what else is out there? Could there be mermaids? And so I started to think, you know, scientifically, how could there be mermaids? So I did a lot of research. There's a lot of scientific feasibility about it. There's no magic or anything in there.
I jumped over the water. Sorry.
Really, hey.
Do you think they've been together?
What were you talking about?
Mermaids.
Oh yeah, I got my book. So it's the story of Emma, who is a normal teenage girl, so she thinks, so we all think, right? Except for good, I guess. But she has the ability to communicate with fish, but she doesn't know this until she meets up with a shark, and that's pretty convenient. Her ability is pretty convenient when she meets up with a shark. But Galen is a Sirena prince, and from now on when I say Sirena, you're going to think mermaid, but I'm going to say Sirena because we're not going to say mermaid anymore. So Galen is a Sirena prince, and he searches land for Emma because he's heard that she has this gift of Poseidon. And this gift, if she really does have it, can unite his underwater kingdoms, which are the houses of Triton and the house of Poseidon. And he needs to convince her that she has the gift, and then he needs to convince her to help him use the gift to unite his kingdom. And the bad thing is that the gift can only be used as long as she marries his older brother, which is awkward because they spend a lot of time together, so I gotta turn her over. And that's what's exciting.
Hello. Hello. So I wrote Shadow and Bone, and in fantasy, darkness is usually metaphorical. Oh, I'm Leigh Bardugo. I wrote Shadow and Bone. Good day to you. So, what I was saying was, it's usually metaphorical. It's, you know, darkness is falling across the land, or, you know, a dark age is coming, and it just means really bad things are going to happen. And the idea behind Shadow and Bone was the idea of taking something that was metaphorical or figurative and making it literal. And that idea came to me one night when I was staying with some friends in the mountains. And everybody had gone into town, and I, of course, had stayed behind to read. And had fallen asleep reading my book. And when I woke up, the house was pitch black. And I don't know if you all are from New York. I'm from Los Angeles, and I am not used to country dark, okay? I'm used to city dark, which is not dark. And I could not see my hand in front of my face. So I'm stumbling around this room, my heart is kind of racing, and I'm bumping into furniture, and all of a sudden I realize I can hear something breathing in the darkness. And then my heart really starts to pound. And I'm, you know, because it's a stranger's house, I don't know where the light switches are, I don't have anything to use as a weapon. I actually took my shoe off, because, oh yeah, I'm gonna do some damage. And then I realized that I was actually, it was my breath that was hearing in the dark. I was just breathing really hard because I was scared. But after I recovered, and went back to bed, I couldn't stop thinking about this idea, the fact that no matter how old you get or how rational you are, that fear, that helplessness never really goes away. It's with you, it's the monster under the bed, it's the monster in the closet, it's something lurking in the parking lot when you're fumbling with your keys. And I couldn't stop this question coming up in my head. What if darkness were a place? What if you couldn't switch the lights on? And what if all those monsters you imagined were real? And you had to fight them on their territory. And that became the basis for the Shadowfold, which in this book is a swath of nearly impenetrable darkness crawling with monsters that feast on human flesh. I don't know why this is my gesture for monsters that feast on human flesh. It should be much more aggressive than that. But it's a deadly, deadly place. And it has cut this kingdom off from its ports and harbors. And in order to have any trade with the outside world, they have to cross it. And into the darkness goes my heroine, Alina Starkov, which I'm always surprised when people describe her as an average girl, because Alina would be really happy to be average. She has spent her whole life being sickly and scrawny, and no one's sure why. She's a map maker now in the King's Army because she's been drafted at age 16, the way everyone of a certain class is. And she's struggling. She's not really good at anything. The only person she has in her life is her best friend Mal, who she grew up with in an orphanage at Caragh, which is the converted estate of a duke. And she and Mal are growing apart because Mal is a superstar. Now that they're in the army, he's good looking, he's popular, he's great at his job, everything's going well for him. And then they enter the fold. And the regiment is attacked, and Mal is nearly killed, and Alina reveals a power that puts her on a collision course with the most powerful forces in the kingdom, and leads her straight to the Darkling, who is the most powerful of the kingdom's magical elite, and also very handsome. So that's basically the plot of Shadow and Bone, and I guess the only other thing I'd say is that when most people think of fantasy, they think of broadswords and flagons of ale and yes my lord and stuff like that, which I love quite passionately, maybe a little too much. But this world is actually inspired by Tsarist Russia, so you will find saints and samovars and dreamy boys, but no flagons of ale. So that's Shadow and Bone.